So I'm sat here with Mark Brown. How are you?
Hey Phil, how you doing? Thanks for coming over.
Very exciting time because it's the new album Space Ibiza 1989 to 2016. That is quite a time span.
27 years of iconic club culture.
How do you cram all the songs that you wanted to fit into that CD?
It's a great question actually. It took a lot of time and research, going back through probably 50 or 60 CD wallets of tracks that I've got to play over Space over the last 10 years myself. But then also researching some of the most important records that were played at the venue over the last 27 years. And having someone like Giorgio Moroder a part of the CD, even though he had never played at the venue, I thought it was a really important statement to make to the industry and the outside world, because without an artist like Giorgio Moroder, we wouldn't even be sitting here today. He was Mr. Electronic Music, you know. For me, it was like a life-changing moment when I first set foot into the club. It was a little bit different for me actually, because I went to the club first as a DJ and played there for the first time I ever went there. And looking back to the closing party that took place a few weeks ago, the crowd that were in that club, it felt like I was going back to the club for the first time. The crowd was amazing. It's probably the most eclectic crowd I've ever seen in one venue before.
Was it quite tricky picking out the favourite tracks of yours for that CD?
I think it's probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do, and also to play the closing party, to pick those records, because every DJ had 45 minutes set, apart from Cole Cox and Nick, who closed the party. But every DJ I'd spoken to also were faced with the same problems. How on earth do you choose records and represent a club in 45 minutes, you know? And it was a difficult task. It actually felt like playing at a house party with like 10,000 people in front of you, but they were all your mates. I mean, I'd met Giorgio once before in Los Angeles last year. Again, I went back to the drawing boards, and Giorgio was that first person. You know, he was Mr. Moog. He was that person right at the start, responsible for some of the most amazing electronic records of all time. Donna Summer, I Feel Love. The list just goes on and on and on. So that was the starting point. Once we had Giorgio on board, the kind of rest fell into place, really. I suppose the DJ that most inspired me as an up-and-coming DJ myself, and also gave me a great opportunity to become a part of what he was doing with his label Subliminal, was Erick Morillo. You know, technically, undoubtedly still one of the best DJs in the world, and his music selection and how he would program a set, he would take you on a journey. It's an honour when both of those artists said yes to it. And I think it wasn't anything to do with me, it wasn't anything to do with CR2. This was about Space and what Space meant to people as a brand and what they've done for electronic music.
I love the fact that Giorgio never played a DJ set until 73, 76 now, I think. And of course, he's in his 70s, yet he's still doing things that a lot of people would maybe think wasn't the norm or wasn't something that he should be doing at that age. Is that something that you're conscious of? I'm not suggesting that you're old and you should jack it, because I'm 46 now, and I've got to that point where a lot of people would kind of sneer at me for DJing. Is that something that you've thought about before?
I mean, I'm old as well. I'm 41.
That's not old.
Do you know what? I think you're as old as you feel, really. And when you have something to offer and you have that passion and that drive still, I think that comes across to your audience. It doesn't matter how old you are. So yeah, I mean, age is just a number at the end of the day.
What's the most surreal thing that's happened to you in your career? Because I know that you've worked in record shops before, and I have as well in our price, going way back. But that was the transition from you to having that passion with music, and then going on to owning and being the founder of CR2 Records to what's the most surreal thing that's happened in that big space of time?
You know, I think there's been many things that have happened to me that I still kind of tap myself on the shoulder and go, hang on, Mark, did that actually happen to you? I think the biggest thing for me really was that, you know, the starting point was actually being offered a record label and setting up Creedence Records. Secondly, winning the Grammy with Dirty Vegas, that was amazing. I got to play with Stevie Wonder in Brazil, played after his set, shared a lift with him to the hotel rooms. Not literally, but met and had a conversation with Quincy Jones, and then to top it off was Giorgio Moroder.
I should say, you were a talent scout at EMI too. Was there anyone that you discovered that now in hindsight, looking back, they've come a really long way now, that you at the time, you know, many people didn't see that they had the talent necessary, they'd be famous or huge? The
biggest person I mention is Calvin Harris. I remember working with Mark and Mark sending me these tracks, and we made a record for Positiva Records, and Calvin actually did a remix for us and never actually got released, and it was used for something else in the end. But that was before, you know, he was big, and anyway, he was still working in the supermarket, I believe, and on MySpace. And Calvin, yeah, that's definitely a moment. Still a dude as well, you know, still the same person as I knew when I first met him. And
what's your favourite dance track? It is $1 million question, but what is your favourite dance track of all time? First of all, go with the big one. Hopefully it's on the new album.
My favourite dance track of all time, we actually couldn't clear, so thanks Virgin Records for not making it happen. I actually got to remix the track as well, and it was approved by the artist. It's Inner City, Pennies from Heaven, literally my favourite dance record of all time, I think. Again, you know, just one of those records where when you hear it for the first time, you think, it's actually, who's made this record? You know, there's just so much emotion in the record, and the song's great. You know, Paris Gray's vocals just absolutely sensational, and Inner City, you know, wow.
It's real feel-good stuff too.
Yeah. And it sounds timeless as well. You can play it now at the end of a set, and you'll still have people's hands in the air, whether they're 16 years old or 50.
Yeah, it reaches everybody.
Exactly, yeah.
What about this year of 2016 so far?
For me, the record I've heard is the Delhi Ali Sound System records, which is on the album. Just a really like crazy record, you know. Just so many different things thrown in there. You know, some African chants, some old school Masters at Work style vocals. When I heard that again, I was just like, jumped out of me because it didn't try to conform to be like anything else. It was its own original piece of music.
Can you sum up a day in the life of Mark Brown?
My day starts really at 6:30 a.m. Normally in the wintertime with a bowl of porridge, looking over some emails, taking some calls, checking in with all the staff, listening to some new tunes that have been sent, then straight into the office really, and full on at CRT, managing the team, making sure everyone has a great vibe and energy in the office. Recording my radio show, finding tracks for that. Not much sleep, but I think my New Year's resolution is definitely going to be finding some more time for Mark Brown just to listen to music. Because when I was 17, my responsibilities were filling my car with petrol, getting to work on time and listening to music.
And partying.
And partying, yeah.